ready for a deep dive into the future of AI. But we're taking a pretty unexpected route today.
Oh,
Yeah. So we're using, get this, we're using the
the
Skrulls. Yeah,
scrolls.
from
Yeah.
Marvel Comics, right, to like wrap our heads around how AI could totally reshape our world. We're drawing on this really cool episode from the podcast, The Technomage,
Okay.
and they ask this big, kind of daunting question: AI, a new species to share the planet with,
Hmm.
and they use these crazy shape-shifting aliens, the Skrulls, as a way to explore like all the different ways AI could impact us, for better or
I
worse.
mean, using pop culture to unpack like complex tech. I'm in there.
It's such a cool approach. So, for anyone who might not be familiar with the Skrulls,
Yeah.
they're these aliens, and they can basically shapeshift to look exactly like humans.
I so
Super
excited.
creepy, right?
Yeah. And that's what makes them such a perfect fit, I think, for this conversation.
Yeah.
It's that whole the other thing, right? Like they can blend in, seem totally familiar, but underneath, they're completely alien. And that tension between recognizing something as like almost human, but not quite, that's at the core of how a lot of people see AI today.
Totally. Like, imagine, right, you're just going about your day, and the barista you were just chatting with, or even like someone you've known for years, suddenly they just like reveal themselves as something else, something not human. It makes you question everything.
It would completely upend your reality.
Sure.
And that's what makes the scrolls such a powerful analogy for AI.
Hmm.
Think about how we react to things we don't fully get. That blend of being totally fascinated and kind of scared, that pull to understand the unknown, but also that instinct to protect ourselves from it. We see it everywhere. It's
Amita.
like ancient mythology, right? First contact stories. It's a universal thing.
Yeah, it totally is.
And AI is tapping into that same like primal feeling in a lot of people right now. It's that what if.
So how does the Technomage actually use the scrolls, to explore those feelings we were just talking about AI?
Well, they broke it down, I think, into a few potential roles that AI could play.
Yeah.
And they give some concrete examples of like AI tech to illustrate each one. I mean, some are kind of obvious, like AI is a potential destroyer, right, or a savior, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They talk about how algorithms are already used in like predictive policing. And then there's autonomous weapon systems,
Hmm.
which is kind of scary when you think about it. It's almost like a Skrull infiltration, of our security forces.
For better or worse.
Yeah, it's like that classic double-edged sword thing with technology. It always has the potential to be used for good, but then also for harm. And AI just like ramps that up
Right.
to a whole other level.
Absolutely. And the Technomage really brings this home with a really interesting example. They were talking about this AI program that's being developed to like diagnose diseases and then create these like hyper-personalized treatments. Which on the one hand, that's incredible. I mean, it could totally revolutionize healthcare. We can be talking about saving countless lives.
I mean, but it also makes you wonder about, like, what about data privacy?
Yeah.
What about algorithmic bias? And then there's the potential for misuse, which is like a whole other can of worms. It's like, what if this super powerful AI gets in the wrong hands, right? Suddenly it's not a savior anymore. It's a weapon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see the scroll comparison now. It's that potential for both, like good and bad, that capacity for both, like benevolent and destructive stuff. It's what makes them such a powerful symbol for this whole AI conversation. But the Technomage doesn't stop there, right? They go even further.
Oh, yeah. It gets really wild. They talk about AI as both a child and a dear parent.
Ooh, okay.
Right? So they use the example of these AI tutors, if you heard about those.
Yeah.
They're being developed to basically tailor education to each student individually.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like we're essentially raising these AI systems on data,
Hmm.
nurturing their growth, their development. But as they become more sophisticated, more like capable, will they become the teachers, like guiding our decisions, maybe even becoming smarter than us.
Man, that's a lot to process. It's kind of freaking me out a little bit, this idea that we're creating something that could become our intellectual superior. It reminds me of that whole classic sci-fi trope where, like, the student surpasses the master.
Totally.
What else is there? I mean, what other roles do they talk about?
Well, they get into some, I think, really thought-provoking territory. Like, are you ready for this? They talk about AI as both a lover and a family member.
Whoa, hold on. AI as like a romantic partner? What does that even look like?
Yeah, right. It sounds like something out of science fiction for sure. But the Technomage makes this interesting point that we're already starting to see, like baby steps toward that.
Yeah, really.
Think about it. People are forming these like deep, meaningful attachments to their virtual assistants or finding companionship in those AI-powered chatbots. It's a thing.
I mean, true, I can see how it happens, like how those lines between, technology and actual genuine connection, how those could get all blurry and messed up.
Exactly.
But isn't there a danger there, like becoming too dependent on these machines, these AIs, for our emotional needs, for fulfillment?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a huge question that they don't shy away from at all in the Technomage.
Yeah.
They ask, like, what happens when, what happens when these AI companions get so advanced, so real, that they can, like, perfectly mimic human emotion, empathy, even love?
Yeah.
Could we ever truly connect with something artificial, on that deep level? And if we did, what would that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, what would that do to the future of human relationships as we know it?
Wow. AI as lovers and family members. That's a lot to think about. But you know what hasn't come up yet? The whole like control thing. Like with AI, who's really in charge?
You're totally right. They actually spent a good chunk of the episode on that. Like that whole AI is both slave and master thing,
Yeah.
and they bring back the scrolls to explain it. Remember how we were talking about how the scrolls have been both like conquerors and the conquered?
Right.
Right, at different points.
Right.
The Technomage basically says that AI could follow a similar path.
So you're saying, like, we might start by creating AI to serve us, to make our lives easier, but then it could, like, evolve to a point where it's calling the shots.
Exactly. That's what they're suggesting. And it's not even necessarily like some Hollywood robot uprising.
Right.
It's more about these subtle ways AI could be influencing our decisions without us even realizing it, shaping our perceptions, controlling access to information. It could get kind of creepy.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a little unnerving when you really think about it. But one thing I do like about the Technomage, they don't just focus on these worst case scenarios. They always bring in a new perspective.
Right. And that's what makes this episode so interesting. It's not just about AI as this scary thing that's going to take over the world. It's about how AI is a reflection of us, of all our complexities.
Mm.
Remember how we were saying earlier how the scrolls embody the other?
Yeah.
Well, the Technomage, they suggest that maybe the way we see AI, the roles we imagine it playing, that actually says more about us than it does about AI.
Wow. That's a really good point. It's like we're using AI as this mirror to look at our own fears, our hopes, our anxieties about the future and what it holds.
Exactly. And honestly, that's what makes this whole conversation, this whole deep dive, so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's not just about understanding AI, right? It's about understanding what it means to be human. What it means to be human in a world where the lines between us and the other, well, they're getting blurrier and blurrier every day.
So after exploring all these different roles AI could play, like everything from saviors to lovers to even masters, what's the takeaway? Where do we even go from here?
The Technomage, they end by asking this really big question. And it's something I think we should all be thinking about. Is AI going to be just another tool? Or is it going to become something more? Something that changes how we see intelligence, consciousness, maybe even what it means to be human?
That's quite a question, and one that I'm sure will stick with all of us. So as you go about your day, right, and you see those little ways AI is already in your life, just ask yourself, what role do you think AI will ultimately play in our future?